In the shadowy corridors of laboratories and the pages of medical journals lie tales that have seldom been told. Tales of ambition that flew too close to the sun, of genius that turned into folly, and of innovation that actually wasn't that innovative. Curious minds and aspiring detectives, welcome to Crimes Against Innovation. In this segment with our two guests, Craig Lipset, who's joining us from America, the co-chair of Decentralized Trials and Research Alliance, and Lewis Millen, joining me in here, who is the Global Clinical Science and Operations Innovation Lead at UCB. We'll take a light-hearted look at some of the most misguided, bad ideas and downright terrible innovations in the healthcare industry. I've asked both my guests to share what they consider to be major crimes against innovation. And Lewis, I'm going to come to you first in this one. What do you think is a crime against innovation?
So mine, Nicola, is the Theranos scandal. And I'd say that stands as not only a crime in the literal legal sense, but also as a crime against innovation. And if people aren't aware, Theranos promised a revolutionary leap in healthcare, a device that could conduct numerous tests with just a few drops of blood. And it was poised to make diagnostics more accessible and less painful and less invasive for people. Unfortunately, however, the vision was marred by deceit and unethical conduct, which resulted in not only the collapse of the company, but a notable setback for healthcare innovation. As a result of that, consequently, advancements in patient-centric blood sampling have suffered setbacks, delays, and delaying critical breakthroughs that could enhance patient care. I'd say this saga underlines a crucial learning that the pursuit of innovation must be firmly rooted in integrity and transparency to truly benefit society and maintain the trust essential for progress.
Because it was a con, wasn't it? She promised
Yes.
something that just didn't exist.
Yes, yeah, and I think her idea was a brilliant one when we talk about innovation. I think when the going got tough, that's when the lies started.
This is Elizabeth Holmes, and she ended up in prison?
She did. I believe she got 11 years and 3 months in prison.
But as you say, it's not just the crime that she did and the con that she did, but the setback it's actually created.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I see this sort of on the ground at UCB. Well, I've mentioned human-centric health, but as part of that, one of the innovations that we're trying to progress is patient-centric blood sampling. This is quite a new technology, but we've actually tried to implement this in some of our clinical trials. It reduces the volume of blood, the discomfort of blood collection using new devices, enables us to test certain blood samples like blood drug concentrations remotely, where we might otherwise not have done. And the internal and understandable conservatism about implementing this type of technology, as well as the regulatory bars, has made it challenging. So not impossible, but certainly more difficult. And I know, from discussions with regulatory colleagues when they've been looking at this technology, that the Theranos scandal has been brought up more than once, and because of it, we have to be so very careful. The bar is that much higher for implementing the innovation.
Yeah, that definitely is a crime as well as a crime against innovation, wasn't it? So that definitely had an effect. Okay, that's quite a compelling one, I think. Craig, do you think you've got a crime against innovation that's going to be more challenging than the one that Lewis has shared with us?
Ooh, that is a very good crime against innovation for sure, Lewis. I was thinking about different crimes that I could bring into this conversation. And, well, unfortunately, I feel like the crime I'm going to share is actually a confession. Because in truth, in my past life, I led clinical trial innovation in a large pharmaceutical company. And my confession is that I think I actually committed a crime against innovation despite my title being head of clinical innovation. I was tasked with, like so many leaders in our space, trying to bring new approaches forward, digital tools, patient-centric models. And I over-indexed on trying to be democratic and include everyone. I really felt at the time that everyone in the organization was in a different place on the change curve, and I wanted to shift that entire curve over to the right and help move everyone a step toward progress. The crime is that in doing so, I embraced incrementalism and the hope of trying to create 1,000 small steps forward. I spent energy on the herd, a herd that was never going to move. And I think that as a result, as companies, we dilute the potential of each innovation by only limiting ourselves to what we think is feasible and practical based on trying to move an entire organization. What we need to embrace is that a full organization simply can't move. You know, when I think about our industry, sometimes I lament that it feels like the last enterprise technology we implemented in clinical trials for studies globally was electronic data capture 15 years ago. And today, more modern approaches like electronic informed consent seem to languish. Is it because there's a lack of evidence or a lack of regulatory support? Is it because of those other external factors? No, we have guidance from regulators around things like e-consent. It improves knowledge retention, and it's a preference among patients. It can improve quality and compliance over paper-based approaches, and yet these approaches languish because we try to appease, sometimes it feels, the lowest common denominator in our organization to try to move everybody slowly. You know, you think about we're taking novel gene therapies and dosing them in humans for the first time, and yet we feel like moving from a paper-informed consent is just too hard. I think that we have to become a little more fierce, a little more heavy-handed. You know, I think Lewis can probably relate that if our company was changing an internal technology like our clinical trial management system, CTMS, we'd have a dedicated team and a budget and an accountable leader and a date that it would switch. And if it didn't switch on that date, someone would be held accountable. Why do we tolerate anything less with other innovations that can improve patient experience and progress our trials?
Oof, you're definitely passionate about that one,
Yeah,
Craig.
yeah.
Well, I have the unenviable task of deciding which is the worst crime against innovation. I think it's very interesting what you just said there, Craig, because obviously, as you write, you have to be fierce and you have to sometimes just push things through and get on with it. But I think the Theranos scandal was a scandal. It was a crime, definitely. And as you've said there, Lewis, it has pushed back progress for companies like yours. So I think in this instance, I think yours is definitely the worst crime against innovation. But thank you both of you for arguing so well what you feel is one that you need to share with us.
To be honest, Nicola, I'm very relieved by your decision because in the hierarchy of criminality, I would never want to replace Elizabeth Holmes on that list. So I will accept defeat in this case.
Thank you very much.
Very
I think you're
gracious.
right. We don't think you're anywhere near in the same standard as Elizabeth Holmes. But thank you for sharing your point of view and for making a public confession to us all here on our Crimes Against Innovation podcast. Did I make the right decision? Do you think? I'm sure you agree that I did, and that definitely our guest here is nowhere near as bad as Elizabeth Holmes. But you know, do share your views. Use the hashtag Crimes Against Innovation on social media. And in the meantime, can I say to Lewis and to Craig, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today.